buying a home in 2026, if it's on your list, things that you want to do, and you're considering doing it through a new construction home, whether it is a inventory home from a builder, which is a great opportunity, or you're going to, go through the whole process and you're going to build, I want to give you some tips and tricks, mainly focused on the math and just kind of what you can expect, how to work this process, how to spend the builder's money, and really how much of a difference it's going to make. So I've got the whiteboard behind me. We're going to go work on some numbers there and just kind of see if we can give you something that might be helpful to make this decision more attainable so that you can get a house in 2026. If we haven't met before, my name is Zach. My team and I, we sell new construction real estate. That's all we do. So whether you're buying from a builder's inventory or you're building from the ground up here in DFW or getting here, I want to help you. So get over here, get in position. Let's first talk about the difference between inventory and ground up build. So inventory is anything we can close on in the next 30 to 45 days. And that's at any point. It's a 30 to 45, 60-day cycle. Home is almost done. They've already made all the selections. So when you talk about price on inventory, price already includes, I got to forgive my handwriting, it's pretty terrible, upgrades. So when you see that home price, they've already accounted for the floors, the cabinets, the countertops, the lot, all of those things. And then you can basically work backwards from that point to try and figure out a number that might make sense. And you'll see sometimes that builders tend to be a little bit more, let's call it aggressive, on their inventory homes than they are on their builds because they have more room to move on. And really and truthfully, they make more money on builds. But what you're gonna see is first of the year, they're going to push on builds. End of the year comes, after the first year, they're gonna pull back on those. Are you still able to get those deals in inventory? Yeah, in some cases. Are they gonna continue to buy rates right at the first of the year like we're seeing right now? I don't think so. They'll probably use what they have, but they will probably switch back to more of like, hey, we're just giving flex cash on closing and we're doing flex cash on builds. I'm gonna talk you through how to use that and spend it. But so can you still get it? Yes. Are they gonna pull back a little bit? Yes. Are they gonna focus on build jobs? Also, yes. So they're gonna push for builds to start the year. And if you're looking at a build realistically here in DFW, you're probably thinking it's going to be anywhere between 6 to 8 months from the start to the completion of that home. So factor in that accordingly. Builds are great. Listen to me. If you are one of those people that need to sell a house, whether you're selling it on the resale market here or you're selling it out of state and trying to get here, a build is your best opportunity because the builder is more likely to potentially look at a contingency on a build than they are on an inventory home because they do not like contingencies in general, but especially on quick move and inventory, they really don't like those contingencies. So push for builds. We know our inventory has margin for negotiation. When we're negotiating on our build, what they're not gonna negotiate on is price. No price on the base. Right? So if you're like, hey, the base price on this home is $450. Well, they're not going to take that $450 and make it $400. What they're going to negotiate for is your incentives. So your design allotment, your lot premium, your closing costs, all of those things, they're going to try and, so you're not going to take your base price lower. People always ask me, Zach, how much more on top of the base price should we expect to spend? I can tell you, it really depends on you, your taste, and the neighborhood that you're trying to build in. On average, when we do builds, we see our clients spend anywhere between 12 to 17% of base all in. So for our simple math, we're talking about a $450,000 base price. If we split the difference on that, let's call it 14%. So 450 times 0.14, $63,000 plus 450 at 513. That is about average. You don't want to be the most expensive home in the neighborhood. You also don't want to be the least expensive home in the neighborhood. Now, of course, will some people do less than that? Yes. Will some people do more than that? Yes. And that is my all in, like, hey, your structure, your design, your electrical, anything. And then of course you have to account for whatever they give you in design center credits. If it's 20,000 or 30,000, it really just depends. So then take that out of that space. So you're probably gonna spend 12 to 17% of the base price to get your full build. That probably puts you in a good spot. And then of course, back out all of your design allotments and you can kind of get a figure for where you're going to be in that space. If you're building, so you're gonna have your design money, GN, and then closing money. So they're gonna give you money to spend for your design, and then they're gonna tell you, hey, you have probably, my guess is right now what we're seeing with a lot of builders is anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000 for closing costs. Now, what you're not going to get is you're not going to get the 4.99% that you see them advertising. That is on inventory homes. And the reason they do that on inventory homes and not on long-term builds is because they can't predict what the interest rate market's going to be in the next 6 months. So they can tell you within the next 30 to 45 days, we can get this rate where it needs to be. The next 6 months. They just don't know. So they're going to give you flex cash probably to use however you want to use it. You can use your flex cash for anything but your down payment. And that's the same is true with inventory. When they give you that money, you can use it however you want to use it. Can't cover your down payment. It can cover all the rest of your closing costs. And I'll show you, we got the calculator. So on our $450,000 house, we added 15%, right? Is that what we added? So we got to 513. And then we're going to say, hey, so we got to 513 and we're going to say the builder gave us $35,000 in credits, right? So our real purchase price, $478. So let's just take a look at it and see where we got on our number, right? So 478, 1, 2, 3, okay, there. Down payment, you're gonna put as little as that down as you can. For me, this is where it's like, hey, I want to control without all of my money tied up in the bank, not 105%. We want, can we do it? Not 1%, come on, technology, 5% down payment. This 6.37 is on average what we're seeing right now with rates. That may change depending on when you close next year. All the smart people in the room seem to think rates are gonna drop. It might, I don't know, but we have to assume the worst, right? So 6.3, 10% down payment. We've got a 0.68 hazard insurance, which is about average. We're seeing our insurance rates rise. I think mine rose about 11% this year on our house alone. And property tax is 2.4, again, average. If you're not from Texas, we don't pay state income tax. We do have a little bit higher property tax rates, anywhere between 1.8, 1.5 in some places like Rockwall, all the way up to almost 3% or more in some of these new neighborhoods. So we just gotta look at it and see, but we're gonna figure it based on 2.4%, brings our estimated to $4,300, cash to close. So our 5% down payment is $23,900. Our fixed and our prepaid, oh, that is wrong, because this has you paying your agent. I will tell you, most of the time in new construction, your builder is paying for you to have representation. So it's not coming directly out of your pocket. So let's recompute that. Let's lower our cash to close significantly. There we go, 39. What we're not accounting for is we still have this flex cash on this end that we haven't used yet. So now I want to talk to you about how to use your money from the builders. Let me scroll over here. So let's just say if you're buying inventory or you're buying resale and the builder tells you have $25,000 in flex cash. So 25K flex. What can we do with this, right? We can buy down our rate. We can pay our closing costs. We can reduce our price. I'm a big fan of let's buy our rate down to a place that makes sense and let's reduce our closing costs so we keep more money in the bank so that you can furnish this new home, do whatever you need to do and keep as much of your money as possible. So when we look at this, the way we get the biggest difference over here on this same house is we start changing the rate. So we say, hey, we went from a 6.3 and we got to a 4.9, which is very doable. We are seeing clients get there. Actually, we'll go even a little higher just to, make sure. We'll say it's 5.2. So where's my 2? Down payment 5%. Got it. We'll hit the little buddy button. Bada boom. Come on. We're working. Okay, so that's our 5.2. So principal and interest, $24.93, taxes $956, which feels crazy. Insurance, maybe a little high, probably. I would figure on average somewhere $1,900, $2,300, depending on how big the house is and where you're buying it. So we've got this money from the builder. What do we do with it? First, we buy what the industry calls points. And points are what lowers your interest rate. So for reference, again, not a mortgage lender, just a real estate agent. I can just talk you through the math if you need actual help, like getting pre-qualified for what your scenario would look like or what you can actually qualify for. There's one of my favorite lenders. His contact information is down below in the description of all of our videos. Reach out to Jared and their team and they will get you squared away with anything that you need in terms of what you can actually afford. But for sake of conversation, so we're talking about points. So 1 point, here we go. 1 point equals 0.25% of rate reduction. 1 point, 0.25%. So if the market rate is 6 and you buy 1 point, you went from 6 to 5.75. The cost of 1 point cost 1% of loan amount, not purchase price, So in this scenario here, same house at 478, we're putting 5% down. So we're putting down 23,900. We're financing 454,100 times 0.01. In this scenario, every single one of our points costs us $4,500, $4,541. We have 25 in flex cash. We take our 25,000 divided by 4,541. We can buy 5.5 points, or what is that? So 4 gets us a whole percentage point, 5 gets us a 1.25, and then a quarter on top of that, about 1% or a little more off the rate. Now, I wouldn't suggest using all of that. And this is where it's really cool. Like when we work with the builder lenders, they can walk you through all of these scenarios that make the most sense for you guys on how to spend this money. I would say the math is probably somewhere in the middle. You probably end up buying, instead of buying 5 points, you probably buy, let's just say you buy, so 45, 41, you buy 3 points times 3. So 13,623, 25,000 minus 13,623. You left yourself 11,377 to cover your closing costs. And right here, we're estimating your closing costs are about $15,000. So you could cover a good chunk of that minus whatever is left. And again, these are all just estimates, just trying to show you guys the way that like we think about these things when we look at the builders' money and spending. For me, we want, I've told you before, I'll tell you again, we want to control it. There's as little of our money out of pocket as possible, even if that means my payment goes up, $20, $30 here, but it saves me money getting into the deal. That's the way I want to look at it. So we've got our points, we've got our flex cash. Maybe the builder says, hey, you have the option. You can either do closing costs covered, or 2-1, which do we take? Do we say, hey, we want you guys to cover our closing costs, or do we say we want our 2-1 buy down? Now, important thing to know, 2-1 buy down. So if I can I show you on the screen? If calculators, I want a buy down. Okay, this is not what we saw screw everybody over 15 years ago. We know exactly where the rate's gonna be when they buy down. So if the qualifying rate is 6.1 and they do a 2-1 buy down, the first year it's gonna be 4.1, the second year it's gonna be 5.1, and then your rate's gonna lock right back at the 6.1 rate. Make sense? Right. So what the builder's doing is they're saying, hey, do you want, so let's say same thing, same price, 478, 1, 2, 3, hit enter. We're gonna do a 2-1 buy down. Cost on this was $9,700. So the builder's basically saying, hey, we can either give you the money for your closing costs, cover all your closing costs, which we are seeing some builders advertise right now. Pacesetter is one of those. They're saying, hey, we've got a 4.75 rate, and then you can choose your own adventure. You can either cover your closing costs, or you can take a 2-1 buy down. Now, again, they're not covering your down payment. You still have to be responsible for your down payment, but they're covering all your closing costs. So it's basically like, hey, it's the same amount of money. They're just trying to say, do you want your money now, or do you want your money spread out over 24 months? For some people, the idea of spreading it out over 24 months from their monthly budget makes sense. Personally, like if you're asking me as a friend, like we were sitting here, sharing a meal or having a beer or whatever, and you ask me, say, like, Zach, what would you do? I would take it all on the front end, because I don't want anybody else holding my money. I want it all right now, and I want to lower my cash to close, and I'm willing to take a little bit higher monthly payment to keep more of my cash on hand. That's the way I would look at it, but everybody looks at it a little bit differently. You can do that. You can do a 2-1 buy down. You can do a 1-0 buy down where they do it for the first year. You can do a 3-2-1 buy down where they do 3 whole percentage points the first year. So if the qualifying rate is 6, then it drops to 3, then it runs up to 4, then it goes to 5, and then you lock back at 6. And then you're thinking, hey, based on that long-term math, do you have the potential to refinance, right? So that's kind of the way to potentially think about that. So we talked about closing costs, talked about buy downs, talked about if you're going to build, base pricing on your inventory. Now, somebody asked me the other day, like, Zach, what's going to happen in the market? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think builders are going to continue to do stuff like this. I think in some places they're going to cut down standard features because their margins have gotten low. They're not making as much money as they want. Their land costs have gone up. I think all of those things, but I don't know. We're just gonna keep talking about it and we're gonna see what happens. Other things to look out for as we're doing this. Be careful. MUD and PID. MUD, PID. This is tax. It's added onto your property taxes. You're probably gonna be hard pressed to find neighborhoods that don't have MUDs and PIDs. And if they don't, their pricing is usually a little bit higher. Most of the new neighborhoods we look at either have one or the other, and it just gets added in. So that's when we say, hey, your total tax rate, it'll be like, hey, it's 2.4, including the MUD. Or they'll advertise sometimes and they'll say, hey, it's this much plus the MUD or the PID. You just gotta make sure you get the total tax numbers in play so that when you go to figure your monthly budget, it's accounted for. And when you see these and you're like, what is this? It is taxes. So, but again, you're gonna be hard pressed to find neighborhoods that don't have this. If you do find it, it's probably gonna be a little bit more expensive. Things like Astor Park and McKinney, phenomenal neighborhood, Prosper ISD schools, no MUD, no PID, a little bit higher on the pricing, but less taxes. So kind of a trade-off. You just pick your avenues, right? If you're looking for the places that don't have high property tax rates, one of the places I would look, Rockwall County. Rockwall County, on average, average has a lot of lower tax rate neighborhoods. Most of them don't have MUDs or PIDs, but their purchase price or their entry point is higher. So this is not a $300,000 to $400,000. This is like a $500,000 to $700,000 purchase price if you're trying to get into those areas. So you just gotta be mindful, account for all of those things, account for your insurance costs. Again, mine is up 11% year over year. I read a stat that insurance is up like 60% over the last 5 years here in DFW. You gotta account for it. It's part of the math, unfortunately. The other thing to remember, as I'm like just rambling and just like brain dumping on all of you guys, homestead. Our homestead exemption is now up to $140,000 on your taxes for your property tax. It's a big deal. It's got to be your primary residence. You can't do anything with it until after you close, but I always like to mention it because you want to factor in for those numbers as well. Okay, we're going talking to a builder. We're asking questions. We are working on negotiating deals. Another pro tip, kind of circling back to the beginning. If you're working on a build, they're not going to negotiate necessarily on price. They are going to negotiate on incentives. So like if they tell you, hey, the standard incentive for our neighborhood is, $20,000 in design and $20,000 in closing costs, cool. Ask for 10 more on each, see what happens. Ask for them to throw in, hey, can we get, and we just did one recently where the neighborhood had an upgrade in the kitchen. It was like, hey, we're going to kitchen level number 2 or kitchen level number 3, and we're doing that, we're throwing it in, you're not paying for it. Awesome, we love that. Ask for those kind of things. They might say no, they might say yes. A lot of them, if you're trying to start this in the beginning of 2026, maybe they're trying to come out the gate and get some good deals, get some momentum flowing. You never know until you ask. I just want you to be realistic in what you ask for. And then of course, we got to make the math make sense. There's absolutely no way we're getting that house at $450,000, $470,000 and you paying $2,000 a month. It's not gonna happen. As much as I wish it would happen, because I would love to buy it. It doesn't exist. I can't make it happen. You need to be in the right frame of mind. So that 478, again, 5.2 on a rate. We got 1,900 on average on our insurance. Let's say we bought it in Rockwall area and it was 2 instead of 2.4. That'll help us some on our taxes. If it'll work, come on, we're working. It's gonna be $3,500, $3,600 on a good day. I just need you to be aware of that. And we will do everything we can to find you the right deal in the right place. But you gotta be aware of what you're getting yourself into. We talked about closing costs, we talked about MUDs and PIDs, talked about our points, our flex cash, how to negotiate on your builds, inventory. If you're starting the year and they have it on inventory and you wanna move quickly, you might be able to find a good deal. If you have a home to sell, they're not gonna do it. I'm just telling you, it's not gonna happen. But yeah, I just want to just dump out my brain and this is what we enjoy and having fun doing this. So hopefully those were helpful. We're gonna do a couple more of these, do some maps of like, hey, here's where we're looking at. Here's how we, what areas I would look at if I was considering buying in 2026. We're not. We bought in 2025. I have a baby on the way, so I definitely can't buy again because I would drive my wife crazy. But if you have a baby on the way or you're trying to expand or you're trying to grow, we want to help. Contact information as always is right there. Or it's just, look, I'm gonna even write it down for you. It's, we'll do it like this, 214-608-1951 or Zach, no C, no H, just K, Zach at Zach Schmidt, SCHMIDT.com. There it is. Call me if you have questions, if I can help you in any way. If you're trying to get DFW, I just want to be a resource and help you get the best house possible, make the deal work and call it a win. So appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed this. See you in our next video.